Good Saturday morning to you. This is your Hurricane Tracker video update for September 25th of 2010. In the Atlantic Basin, we're still tracking two tropical systems, Tropical Storm Matthew over Central America and Tropical Storm Lisa out in the far eastern Atlantic. And we do have a wave in the eastern Pacific Basin with about a 30% chance of development. But right now, upper level winds are only marginally favorable for development for a system here in the eastern Pacific. But we'll keep an eye on that for you and keep giving you updates. Let's start with Tropical Storm Matthew. As of the latest advisory at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time this morning, Matthew's moving to the west-northwest at 15 miles an hour and has maximum sustained winds at 40 miles an hour. So the storm has weakened a little bit, but is still maintaining a lot of convection, especially for a system that has already made landfall. Right now, the center of Matthew is temporarily back out over open water in the very western Caribbean. And it's just been dropping tremendous amounts of rain over Honduras, Belize, and Guatemala. 10 to 20 inches has fallen in some areas, with a lot more to come here for the southern Yucatan and Belize and Guatemala over the next several days, especially as the storm slows down later this weekend and early next week. Now, as far as the future track of Tropical Storm Matthew, computer models right now are all over the place. Some of the computer models want to bring it northeastward into the Gulf of Mexico, and about another 50 to 55% of the models keep Matthew down here in extreme Central America. But right now, none of the models are showing Matthew entering the Bay of Campeche. So basically what this means is the track of Tropical Storm Matthew is very uncertain. What we really only know at this point is that Matthew will still continue to trek to the west here and get deeper into Central America, and will slow down to about 5 miles an hour by Sunday. And from there, the storm should just kind of stall out and continue to weaken and dissipate. But there is still a little bit of a chance the storm could be drawn northeastward towards the eastern Gulf of Mexico. And let's talk about those scenarios in a little more depth here. The red arrow indicates the most likely scenario would be that Matthew would just continue to move to the west-northwest, kind of stall out down here in Central America and dissipate. The next viable option would be that the low pressure just kind of hangs out down here and eventually gets picked up by a trough of low pressure coming south out of the United States early next week, which would help pick up the storm and draw it to the northeast. And of course, that scenario would pose a threat for folks living in Cuba, Florida, and even maybe the central Gulf Coast. The green arrows indicate the steering currents that are projected by the computer models early next week. And you can see with the southwest to northeast flow, any type of system that we have down here in the Gulf of Mexico or even in the Northwest Caribbean Sea would likely be drawn northeastward towards Florida. So basically what I'm saying here, if you're listening to this video, watching this video, and you live anywhere in Cuba or anywhere in Florida, or even I'd say from Louisiana eastward, please pay close attention and just keep in mind that there could be some type of storm coming out of the Caribbean sometime early next week. Now, computer models, a few of the major computer models are actually showing development of a new tropical system, which would be named Tropical Storm Nicole. And so basically that makes the picture even more complex. Are we going to have a brand new developing storm here in the Caribbean? Or are we going to have the remnants of Matthew somehow sneak out of the Yucatan northeastward and develop here in the Western Caribbean, where oceanic heat content is very high, the waters are very warm. So basically next week, if you live in about this area, please pay close attention. There is somewhat of a chance of some type of tropical system moving northeast from your south sometime next week. And hopefully by Monday or Tuesday, the computer models and the Hurricane Center will have a much better picture on what actually may be developing, if anything. So we'll keep an eye on it and let you know the latest. And as far as Tropical Storm Lisa, she actually achieved hurricane status yesterday for a brief period of time, and but the outlook does not look very good for Lisa. Lisa is anticipated to continue to move to the north here and eventually die out as upper level wind shear coming from the west should be increasing about 30 to 45 knots. And anytime you get upper level wind shear over a tropical system, it would help to just weaken it out and dissipate the storm. So the good news for Lisa should still weaken, will not be a threat to anybody, and that is certainly good news. Before we leave you today, we wanted to let you take a look at the animated satellite pictures here for both of our systems. Give them just a moment to load up here. Oh. And over here on the right panel, we have Tropical Storm Lisa. And then, of course, over here on the left panel, we have Tropical Storm Matthew. And you can see Lisa is definitely in a weakening phase. She's been weakening for the last several hours. While on the other hand, Tropical Storm Matthew, once he hit land yesterday, the precipitation kind of exploded. And that's unusual for a tropical system over land. Usually they tend to weaken. But now if you look at the latest satellite frames, it does look like the convection is waning a little bit and that the storm is beginning to finally weaken. So that's definitely good news. But still, Matthew will bring a lot of rain to this region. That is the most important concern at this time. Lots of mudslides and lots of flash flooding down here in Central America. So we'll keep an eye on the Caribbean Sea, see if anything develops out there, whether it's the remnants of Matthew or a new storm, which would be named Nicole. And we'll come back every morning and give you a new video update with the latest information. And thanks for being a Hurricane Tracker customer, everybody, and for watching the video updates. And hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Thanks so much.